Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lotus Chat Worldwide. And of course, today we have Jen on a very casual mode today. Hi,
Hello,
Jen. Yeah.
everyone.
So we're gonna dive straight into our episode 94, being consistent with yourself. Oh, I love this topic. And it's not something that's easy, I think, to be consistent with ourselves. And I guess everyone has a different definition on that. So I wanted to kind of hone into that. What do you think, Jen? What is your definition of being consistent with yourself?
Oof. Um, well, pretty much being consistent with myself, the way I define it is staying true to your plan, your
Mhm.
goal, your purpose, and making sure that every day you're getting one step closer to that. Whether it's putting down an idea that will help you get there, whether it is connecting with somebody that will help you get there, whether it is adding a new habit, like for myself, that will help
Mm.
me get to that goal or that purpose or that dream that I have. So it's something that requires a lot of discipline, a lot of courage, a lot of, I would say, would require me to be very honest with myself about those things that kind of keep me from being consistent and setting, new healthy ways of being in order to get to said goal, dream, or purpose. What about you, Deanne?
I think if being consistent with myself, yes, I agree that, it's habits and discipline, but I think that's more of a like action of being consistent. But I think fundamentally what really matters is that when we're consistent with ourselves, it's also the alignment and building that whole trust. Like showing up for ourselves, not just, it's so easy to show up for others, but then when it's on ourselves, it's not as easy. So it's more of like, to me, it's more of like really aligning to my values, aligning to what I want to do, and then it shows out through actions.
Oh, I love that, Deanne. Yes, that's beautiful that you said it's about an alignment of your values, alignment of self. I love that you really put that all together so, beautifully there. Um, and since we did define it for ourselves in terms of how what consistency means for us, I know a lot of people out there are probably asking, well, it can be hard to be very consistent with yourself
Mm,
and to feel completely aligned in something in order to feel like so excited about it that you're like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna, work on. This is what I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna make
mm.
sure that every day I do this, that, and that. But for those of us who might find it a little difficult to be consistent, what are some things that you can, words of advice that you can offer? And that includes me because I too have been inconsistent with myself at times. So, Zian, what advice would you offer me and others with that?
I actually love what I like about being consistent with myself, and one of the things that I do is that when I've decided on a goal, I tend to share it with a lot of people. Because when I do that, I realize that every time when I catch up with friends or like so and so, whoever I shared it with, they then will then ask me, "Hey, how's it going with your doctorate? How's it going with your thesis? Are you still on it?" And like, so that question, that banter kind of helps me and keeps me going. I go like, "Oh yeah, I missed it today, I'm gonna get on it tomorrow." So it's like a nice friendly reminder. And then it's also an opportunity for me to kind of talk it out like, oh, I've been struggling and it's not working out. It was so hard to wake up in the morning. So it's a journey. So that to me works. What about you? What's your
Oh,
secret?
well, honestly, so that is great that you mentioned accountability, like having an accountability buddy, which is
Mm,
so great when you're working on anything big or even small that you want to accomplish that. Like I said, a goal, a dream, whatnot. Checking in with somebody, like you said, and saying, "How's that going?" Like,
yeah.
what did you do today to get to that? It's great. It could be a friend, a family member. It could even be like a life coach that you work with, but for me, what I found that helps me stay consistent is actually setting reminders to myself. So whether it's a reminder on my phone or putting a reminder like on a bulletin board that's near me, whether it's setting multiple, alarms. Like for those of you out there who
Mm,
set multiple alarms, so that you put like, oh, I need to, write this down, or I need to
Yeah.
make that call.
Mm,
It's very important to just set reminders, especially if you are somebody like myself who tends to juggle multiple things
yeah.
and multitask. That is going to help get you closer to that goal. But I also do want to bring this up, Zian, is that you could have a strategy in place, right? We
Mm,
could have a plan. We could set accountability buddy, check-ins and alarms. But what if, our we are, we get into kind of a rut where something goes wrong and we're not
mm,
able to do something in one day to get to that, thing that we want. We're like, oh, we weren't consistent today, and we get kind of bummed out about it, and we get
mm,
into our
mm.
emotions. Like, how do we get ourselves out of it? Like, what's a good way to get ourselves out of that kind of rut that we might be in for about that?
I think it's important also not to be in that rut for too long, right? Because when it's
Yeah,
too long and then we lose that momentum to want to kind of restart it.
exactly.
But I think also that in order to get into that momentum, it has to get back into the momentum is to kind of build it back up slowly. So instead of, for example, spending an hour doing what you love, which is like painting and drawing, which is what I love too. And I struggle with that because I just don't have 1 hour or not willing to spend 1 hour, or I have stories that tell myself that 1 hour is not productive for today. So instead of doing it 1 hour, it could be a 10 minutes thing, you know?
Mm,
So then
okay.
you build it up slowly, and then eventually the 10 minutes will go into, 1, 2 hours. The time will just fly by. But then to get into it, it gets to be short.
Ooh, I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great idea, Zian. And thank you for giving me that advice because, like I said, all of you out there, that's a wonderful way to get yourself back into the swing of things again. So, the other thing that I found also helps me when I start feeling like I'm a little stuck, or when I get a little bummed out that I didn't, hold myself accountable and was consistent with something that I really wanted, or a behavior that I really wanted to embrace a little bit more of that was healthy for me. I really just start asking myself the question, am I worthy of the greatness
Mm.
that this will lead to? And if
Oh.
I'm worthy of that greatness, then does that mean that I should get back into the swing of things again? Like, is it, like I start reminding myself that there
Mm.
is something at the end of this. If I remind myself there's something good, something exciting, another way of being that really helps me in the long run, then
Mm.
that really kind of triggers that little light bulb in my head. And I'm like, oh, you know what, Jen, you got to get out of your head. Like, all right, let's get back into it. Tomorrow, we're setting that alarm. Even if we have to set multiple alarms, and we're going to sit down and we're going to work on that painting, or we're going to work on that, another page of the book or whatnot. So I find that it's very important to just continue telling yourself, reminding yourself what is at
Mm.
the other end of this. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I just wanted to share one of the things that I struggle with, like being consistent myself, is actually doing yoga. I know its benefits. I know it's good for me. I like the stretch after I do yoga, but before I get into yoga, that's always a struggle. And I tried like doing self yoga for a really long time and just didn't. I had an accountability partner for a while, and then our time didn't match, so ended up being with myself. So I started to sign up to this class to do it, and that kind of, knowing that I have to pay for it kind of motivates me to go for it, if you know what I mean. And it's also
Yes.
like the drive there, and then do that 1 hour, and then the drive back. Oh my God.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned yoga. That is such a beautiful practice in itself when you can, be like, yeah, it's worth the drive, right? It's worth the
Mm,
time. And one last thing, I wanted to kind of bring up is also how important our thoughts are when we're creating consistency
yeah.
practices for ourselves. It's not if I get there, it's when you get there. So we
Yeah.
take out the if and we say when, because we pretty much stay in that mentality that anything and everything is possible if
Mm,
we are willing to go there, whether it's a habit or Zian, whether it's going to yoga or starting
mm,
that, healthy practice, or that hobby that you want to take up, whatnot. I do feel our thoughts are important. So, Zian, I'm anything else that you would like to tell our viewers, our listeners, about this particular topic.
No, I just wanted to reiterate your quote. I love it that, we are showing up to our own greatness. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah, so remember everyone that even if things change, I actually had a great, wonderful friend, our fellow Lotus lady, send this wonderful video to me where in the video, the individual says, and I'm going to quote what she says, change the plan and not the goal. So be
Hmm.
ready to get flexible if and when things change with these consistency practices or things that you want to accomplish. Don't change the goal, just change the plan of getting there. And thank you all for
That's
being here
beautiful.
on Lotus Chat Worldwide here on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify podcast as well. So please check us out on the drive home or on the way to work. And we will be here again with another wonderful episode. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, we would love to hear from you, or any comments, please comment below. You can find us at lotuschatworldwide@gmail.com. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
Guys.